is going on, Rotogrinders? Dean here. That's Dean7904. That is the daily fantasy handle around the industry. It is 5:10 on the dot on the East Coast, 2:10 West Coast, 4:10 Tennessee time. So, of course, 7 time of the flagship show here at Rotogrinders. What is it called? It's called Grinderslive. Joining me today, we got Grant Neefer. We'll talk to him in a second. And, there's been so many late swaps, so many people scratched throughout the season, throughout today. It's exhausting keeping up who's in, who's out. We, even on the show, got a last-second late swap. Will, Chief Justice, not with us, but we brought in what are we settling on, Keith? We're calling you Iceman now, and that's what Roth has deemed you, and you were Iceman from this day forward based upon that one moment on Crunch Time a month or so ago. And have you embraced that? Are you good with that? Do you feel okay being Iceman?
I'm okay with that. Yeah, Roth threw it out there. It kind of stuck. I don't think he's going to let it go. So if I'm doing crunch time, I think I have to be okay with it. So yeah, I'm totally cool with that.
Yeah, you do a lot of the crunch time stuff, obviously. Yeah, Top Gun 2's coming back out. So Iceman, that nickname might get more popular these days. I don't know. Wait, is there an Iceman in it? I'm not sure. He did survive one. Somebody didn't. I won't spoil it. Although the statute of limitations are up. R.I.P. Goose. I just blew it. I'm sorry, people. If you were like 20 years old, you're going to see. All right. Keith, are we excited about tonight? Is there anybody on this slate that's, potentially in or potentially out? Any body parts we're monitoring? Because, everybody. It's going to be a fun one, isn't it?
Yeah. I immediately regret the decision to jump on last minute when there is complete chaos going on. Russell Westbrook is out. No, wait, just kidding. Russell Westbrook is in amongst a host of other COVID concerns and injuries that we're dealing with. So this is going to be a fun one for sure.
I like to make my list. Like, I know I can get it from like the Underdog blog. I know I can get it from the Rotogrinders. What is it called? The Situation Room. And I know but I like kind of writing it down, just kind of putting it in my head. And I started writing it down. I'm like, this is exhausting. I just can't write down every single thing that's going on. That's how many injuries there are. Like you mentioned,
you might get carpal tunnel.
Yeah,
yeah, like when your mom goes out of town.
What? Hi, Grant. Are you mad that I did not introduce you? She watches the show sometimes, Grant. She likes to support the show. She hits the like button. She hangs out with everybody there on YouTube. Hit that like button if you guys watch on YouTube. Do like, do subscribe, turn on notifications. Grant, we've had several slate changing news break. The Davion Mitchell, in my estimation, was the best value play on this slate.
And he
just ruled out. Yeah, he's no longer a thing. We may lose that game. I think I don't know if that's going to happen. I thought we were going to lose the Orlando game because they were down to 7 bodies, and then all of a sudden they found 4 dudes. Hey, you guys want to play for the Magic tonight, or at least dress? I guess they play for the Lake.
I should wait and see if the Nuggets have some problems and just give them a call. Like, look, you need a bench warmer when you're down or up by 40. Just throw me in the game.
What is your comp? Like, what would be your salary? Are you 3K? Would you hit value? What do you do on the court? Are you like a PJ Tucker type?
The low ball tournament, I would crush.
Yeah, it is interesting as far as building lineups tonight because there's 3 games theoretically at 10 o'clock tonight. The Kings, what we're looking at is, is it 8 or 9 bodies? Halliburton's questionable too, so he may not play. We had Mitchell being ruled out, Holmes being ruled out, Metu is questionable, Fox we know is out, Len is out, King is out, Davis is out, Bagley's out. I think
now read the Orlando Magic.
I don't want to. Do we have time? It's only an hour show.
Yeah, if you read body, I'm glad we got rid of the body part segment because today it would just be you reading a list of names. And all right, it's been fun. See you, kids. Holler.
By the way, this doesn't. We care about today and today only. It's daily fantasy sports, but Kyrie apparently is coming back soon. He's the path for him coming back in their lives. So everybody's out, and Kyrie Irving apparently is going to come back in. It's soon enough to be a part-time player, play it for games outside of New York. We'll deal with that another night, obviously. But yeah, I'll tell you this: if you want to avoid that Magic Heat game, which I guess is not going to be canceled now, of course the Heat side is thin as well too, which we'll talk about it. If you want to avoid that altogether, play on Yahoo. Yahoo starts at 7:30. 7:30 on Friday nights, basically. They throw out the first game. I guess that's a marketing plan, or people working on their sites.
Super Draft used to do that. They might still do it. I don't know.
I appreciate that. I like that. I'll be playing on Yahoo tonight, specifically for that reason, because you have an extra half hour to make stuff work. And I don't want to mess with this Miami-Orlando game too much. We'll talk about the body parts as we kind of move along. But there's, suffice to say, there is a ton of players out, a ton of players that we're monitoring, and lots of value plays. I'm pretty sure some of these Orlando guys don't even have like salaries. Like I've never heard of Admiral Schofield. I think he's made an appearance in the league at some point, but
oh yeah, the Admiral's played a decent amount.
Yeah, but like Hassani,
isn't he out for COVID?
No, they called Admiral up. Like he's going to be. He's one of the forward bodies.
There's so much COVID news I get throughout the day.
I understand. Have you been able to take advantage? I was going to put a tweet out in a second, and I said there's going to be some player prop stuff, and we'll talk about Prize Picks in a second as well. We'll kind of give some out along the way. Actually, Grant, you mentioned this. You're going to tease. You're going to tease some of your player props winners. We're going to give some out, a couple. We'll give a couple out on air.
I'll give like
if
10.
I was watching us on YouTube. Yeah, but you're gonna post some. Where are you gonna post them for the people? Because we have to direct them to our Discord, and you've been smashing. I know we like to have some fun back and forth, but you've been crushing scores and odds. You've been having a very, very successful season, and you're gonna post a lot of your picks tonight, specifically in the Discord channel. Tell us exactly how we get there.
Devin, how do we get there?
Oh, I could tell you.
You tell us. I'm in there. I don't know how to get there at the beginning.
Fair enough. You go to rotogrinders.com/Discord and you go to the live stream chat channel. We have some premium channels for premium members. We have some free channels for anybody. Just you have to have a Rotogrinders account. Doesn't need a premium account, just any account for Rotogrinders. You can join the live stream chat channel. And also we're pulling questions from there. Devin, extraordinary producer for this show. He's always multitasking. He'll be pulling those questions. We'll talk about them later on in the show. Fire them there. More details, the better. Let us know if it's for cash, for tournament, for DK, for FanDuel, for single entry, for mass multi-entry, all that good stuff. More details, the better. But Grant, that's where you're going to put some of your player props. I don't know if you want to just throw them all out there at once, or just kind of tease, give them a few out there now, kind of sprinkle them in.
I'll throw a few in there right now. Let's see. I'll throw 4 in there right now. Just copy and pasting over from my spreadsheet because I'm an accountant.
And you put what do they say? They have stake in the game. What's the word they use? Not stake in the game. They use what's the adjective people use as far as something in the game?
I have a lot of money on the line.
There you go. Last night we were watching the football game, and live you must have wagered $10,000, $15,000 on the Kansas City Chargers game, and I think you set yourself up in a position where you could not lose, and like at worst case scenario you won like 1,000, give or take. Is that what it was? Yeah,
I won like 1K if the Chargers won like 2.5K if the Chiefs won, and the Chiefs
those
won.
Live
Hooray!
Streams. Yeah, that was.
Plus, I got like several thousand crowns.
Oh, you can't put a price on that.
Well, I mean, I'm going for Onyx next year. Like, I didn't bother this year because they had the weird system, so I just have Diamond, and it was like going to be too much of a pain to get to Onyx. I need like 200K more. So now they're running a promo where you can get 150% crown bonus for the next week, and it can go towards next year. So, hooey!
Speaking of promos, we have a promo code for Prize Picks. Sign up for Prize Picks. Use the promo code Grinders. With your first deposit fee, you get 100% deposit bonus up to $100. They're also doing like their 12 days of Christmas Prize Pick stuff today. They had a promo out there today where they give a boost specifically on these. Was it Tatum and Valanciunas? Well, just go to the site, check it out. Again, use the promo code Grinders, and we can tell the people this, Grant. Tell them some of the winners you have today. I know you picked a few out as far as from a Prize Picks perspective. What do you have?
Let's see. Let me find it. There it is. Jokic over 11.5 boards. I actually bet that last night on the live show. Jaren Jackson over 17.5 points. I bet that during the show last night. Middleton over 20.5 points, and Drew Holiday over 20.5 points. And you're talking about like the COVID news and how it affects player props. Like,
are they sharp? How sharp are they with making those lines? Because they don't adjust in time.
Not terribly, but I mean, yes, doing like very quick like bets right after you get the news before they can take them down. I haven't done that as much lately, but generally I have like all betting sites up, and specifically I have DK NBA points up, and then immediately when that comes out, you click like 5 of them and you press some amount of number of money and press submit and hope that it goes through. But like honestly, with all the news coming out throughout the days, like I bet early in the morning, and I predominantly bet overs in the morning, unders closer to game time. Like just because the overs are people automatically hit overs anyways. But as soon as someone gets ruled out, then it's like, oh, this over is easy now.
Yeah, and obviously Milwaukee, we'll get to it, but we know all the Antetokounmpos, both of them are out tonight for the Milwaukee. Portis and Matthews and DiVincenzo is potentially going to come back soon. He also got hit with health protocols. So, like, it's going to be the holiday in Middleton and potentially Boogie Cousins show. That'll be fun as well. But we talk about that. Revenge game for Boogie Cousins as well. But
How
like,
many
Keith,
revenges does he have?
I don't know. He's a very vengeful person, Boogie. I'm not really sure. But
Golden State, Sacramento, New Orleans, Los Angeles.
Lakers. He won a title with the Lakers without playing a minute. I'm pretty sure he got a ring. I assume he got a ring. Didn't he? Give it to him. Sure, why not? Keith, do you have any general, like, overarching thoughts as far as this slate? I guess my general thought would be, like, again, the Sacramento game may get canceled. The Orlando game may get canceled, but maybe not now that they just called up 4 dudes. But just be prepared to potentially swap. Don't make any plans for the next 3 hours. How about that? Well, what's your general thought as far as this slate before we break it down game by game?
Yeah, definitely good advice to be paying attention the whole night. You touched on it with Yahoo not having the Miami Orlando game. I think that's a generally decent strategy on DraftKings and FanDuel as well, just to buy yourself an extra half an hour of news. There are a couple of plays you can like in that game, but I'm trying not to get too much of it so that I have some flexibility. Portland has a huge total, but the Charlotte situation is a little bit mucked up with LaMelo coming back. So they're really tough to play, but love the Portland side of that. Memphis, Sacramento is a really attractive game as well. So hopefully we get to keep that one. But yeah, a lot of the stuff outside of Milwaukee, New Orleans that I'm looking at is in that late set of games. So I'm trying to buy myself some time here.
Keith, how much does a player have to project for? Say somebody's 3K on DK, right? And depending on the slate, if it's a 3-game, a 4-game, a 5-gamer, if there's not a lot of value out there, like if you can find the 3K guy that you can project for like 22 points, who like maybe we thought like Tice was last night. Of course, he smashed it last night. But like tonight, I feel like if you could project somebody for 22 points, you don't really feel like they have a ceiling beyond like 27. I don't know how much I need that. Like you kind of understand how much. My thought is like, at what point can you? Is the 20-point guy that's projected at 3K like worthless on this kind of slate?
I think he is, just because there's so much that's opened up. Like you have a ton of like 5 and 6K guys that are going to have much greater roles than they typically do. So I think value plays like that have a much higher ceiling than somebody who's 3K who might run into 20 fantasy points. So I think on this type of slate, it is more valuable to target guys that are a little bit more expensive that may have a bigger ceiling.
All right, I stalled long enough. Let's talk about Orlando and Miami. Break it down game by game. 204.5 is the total.
Dropping more picks in.
All right. Well, again, some people will probably just join us late. Now, what are you doing now, Grant? What are you doing? You're dropping.
Join the Discord, discord.com/Rotogrinders. Join, go to the live stream chat, and I'm just dropping picks as I please. And these are all ones I've already bet on, and they're in a spreadsheet, a beautiful spreadsheet that I put together.
Discord.com. You got that dyslexia over there. It's rotogrinders.com/Discord. Go ahead and find yourself the which channel are we looking for? The live stream chat channel. And also ask your questions regarding the slate. Okay, so the Miami side. Well, both teams, Miami and Orlando, is an absolute mess. Miami, we know Butler's out. He's been out. He's still out. Bam Adebayo, same deal. Caleb Martin, same deal. Markieff Morris, yeah, he's still this neck is still hurting from that push. Yurt 7 is questionable with a back. You know, one of their bigs. Tyler Hero is questionable with the quad. I believe he did not practice today. On the Orlando side, good Lord. Well, Cole Anthony is questionable. Bamba's not playing basketball. Gary Harris said a hamstring is questionable. This is a guy who started the other night. Well, he was supposed to start, and then he got pulled right before the start, and he's old, and he's got a, I don't want any part of Gary Harris if he does play. Terrence Ross, who crushed the other night, he's out. RJ Hampton is out. One of the Wagners.
Don't read all of them. Don't read all of them.
Well, that's it. I mean, I'm not going to keep going, but that's basically it. Yeah. So as far as the Orlando side, Grant, what are we looking at? Wendell Carter Jr. should get a pile of minutes. If Cole Anthony plays, should get a pile of minutes. There's Chuma Okeke, I presume will draw the start and probably play around 30 minutes or so as well. Who excites you on the Orlando? We should theoretically like some guys on Orlando.
We should if they weren't at this same situation all over the place. I mean, match versus Miami, it's not a terribly easy matchup. So, I mean, like Okeke should play a decent amount of minutes. He seems like the best value on the slate, or not on the slate in this game. Like without Bamba, I do like Wendell Carter. He should play a good amount of minutes. They're going to need a little bit of height. I mean, it's not a terribly easy matchup. Cole Anthony, like we know that he can just absolutely smash and get close to a triple double. He could get a triple double with the amount of minutes he might have to play in this spot here if it ends up staying close. But it's not really a great spot going up against Miami. You don't need any of these three guys. If this were a 3-game slate or not a ridiculous COVID slate, then we would have a little bit more interest. But I mean, if I'm going with anyone, it's in order, probably Okiki, Carter, and then Anthony, but I don't love any of them.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at as well. And who knows how many of the players that just signed that they're actually going to play. Some of them aren't even in the player pool. Keith, your thoughts as far as the Magic?
Yeah, similar. Not a ton of interest. We're talking about a team total under 100. I mean, Okiki for value is fine, but he's one of those lower ceiling type of players that we decided or had talked about, kind of like spending up a little bit more, getting guys with a bigger ceiling. Carter's going to play a ton, but if this game is a blowout, because of so few bodies, he may have to play more minutes than they want him to, but they're going to try to rest him down the stretch if this game gets away from him. So, yeah, just not a ton of interest in the Orlando side, especially.
Yeah, we're looking at 10 guys. Is that what we're looking at as far as availability? Lopez, Mulder, Schofield, Gravette, and BJ Johnson off the bench. I think that's yes. Grant, you're a child.
Great name.
So, Grant, what about Miami? If Hero plays, in theory, he should be interesting. But again, he didn't practice today. Yurt 7, if he doesn't go, in theory, they would need Dedmon to get a few more minutes of run, I suppose. But again, so much value out there. A big priority, opportunity cost at center as well. Like
Dennis Schroeder ruled out.
Does that change things?
No.
I mean,
but it's just funny every time we get someone ruled out.
Yeah, I mean, we'll talk about that game, and Tatum is certainly interesting. Brown played 30 minutes last game, I think, with 2 minutes left on the table with a blowout. So I think his minutes are mostly there. I think the most interesting player on that side is Robert Williams. We'll talk about him soon enough because there's plenty of Celtics that are ruled out as well. What do you have for me, Keith, as far as Miami?
Lowry is probably the best play here. If Hero gets ruled out, then Lowry becomes a pretty good value. Going to have a huge role, massive usage rate. So keeping an eye on that Hero stuff. You can take some shots on Dedmon and Tucker if you want. Don't love those plays, but at their price tags, there's some upside there for sure. Gabe Vincent's price has come up, but he should be playing into the 30s in the minutes. He's a fine stab as well, but I'm probably going to end up underweight on all of them.
Grant?
I think I cut myself at some point. Don't remember when, but yeah, if Hero's ruled out, Lowry, probably too cheap. Usage should go up even more. He can end up crushing. He's the one guy I really don't mind too much. Tucker, I think, is a decent value play. I bet the over on his points. Not terrible, but I mean, he's going to be owned pretty decently. So that's never a good idea, but you can do worse. There's a lot of good plays on the slate. So Dedmon, not really a huge fan of. So mostly it's Lowry and Tucker.
Denver, Atlanta.
Cole Anthony out.
Oh boy. Well, I mean, look, Franz Wagner and Wendell Carter Jr. are going to be asked to do a ton. And Okiki's going to play a ton of minutes as well. And I don't know if this is going to trigger a cancellation. I guess since they added those 4 bodies, it's probably not. But
we're playing Mark Mulder. Michael Mulder.
I don't think Mark Mulder, pitcher for the Oakland Athletics.
He also played for St. Louis. Don't forget that.
He did.
Led the league in complete games and shutouts. What, 2 years?
Really?
Yeah.
For St. Louis or for Oakland?
Oakland.
Yeah, he would have got pinch hit in St. Louis. That does change things as far as the Orlando side. We'll revisit that. Okay, let's just put that up.
Just play anyone. Play Wagner. It doesn't change too much. Wagner, Okiki, Carter.
Harris. No, don't say play anyone because we're not playing.
You think Harris is going to play? You can play Harris at 3.9.
No. That's one of the guys. That's what me and Keith were talking about. Iceman. We were saying Harris. What is his ceiling? 28. Do we want Gary Harris? He's also questionable for the record.
Yeah, I know he's questionable. If he plays though, someone's got to shoot the ball. The ball will be shot. He's not getting pushed.
Wagner's going to shoot and Carter's going to shoot. I think those are the guys. I think. Did you have a thought on that, Keith, quickly, as far as Orlando? We're kicking Anthony off the court, the most important player for Orlando.
Wagner, I have a lot more interest in Wagner than I did. Had slight interest in Carter already. A slight bump to him as well. Those are the main two, I think.
All right. Atlanta is home to Denver, 226.5. Atlanta is a 2-point favorite here. Speaking of good, like Nikola Jokic, it's an interesting thing because there's always value out there, and Jokic is just in his own spectrum, in his own world. He's like kind of disappointed for various reasons the last 2 games, one for getting ejected, one for a blowout, but he still put up like at least 60 points in both games, 70 in one of them. Just completely insane. Capella on the other side is questionable, which would make that matchup even better, and he's matchup proof anyways, as is. I don't think I want anybody else on Denver. I just want Jokic and Jokic and Jokic. And the tricky thing is like center is stacked, and there's the mid tier is stacked too, Keith. So it's this weird conundrum where like I don't think he's a lock. Like, yes, he's a lock, but if it gets me like 3 guys at 6, 7, 8K, how you handling Jokic? Like, in no way I'm going to say he's a bad play. I love Jokic, and I'm probably going to play him.
Yeah, I love him too. I'm trying to get overweight on him. I think this is a great spot for Jokic. You touched on Capella, questionable. If he were to get ruled out, I mean, who on Atlanta has a chance to stop him? Okongwu is expected back, but we expect him on a minutes restriction too. So there's just no big guys that can stop Jokic on this Atlanta team.
Do they start? Well, Okongwu, what are we projecting for him? Like 15 minutes or something like that? Is that kind of what we're expecting? And would Collins jump to the 5? Or no. They wouldn't put Collins on Jokic. They would start like Gorgie Deng, which like I don't think I want any of that.
Gorgeous dong.
You know, yes, the gorgeous dong. What do you have for me, Grant, as far as this game? Like, sure you can play some Barton if you want to, but I can't see playing anybody beyond Jokic or Barton on the Denver side. And then talk about Atlanta and the possibility of Capella being out. In theory, should make stuff interesting. But again, when everything is interesting, how much does that actually move the needle?
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't move the needle a ton over on the Atlanta side. I really only have interest in Young, and Collins gets a pretty decent bump if Capella ends up missing. I know that they don't want to put him on Joker, but they may end up doing it a little bit, just keep him in there for size and a little bit extra on the offensive end. On Denver, it's really just Jokic. Jokic might be the top overall. Might be. He is the top overall raw points play on the entire slate. Jokic is absolutely ridiculous. And here's a freebie bet Jokic to win MVP at 14-1. Just absolutely ridiculous line. I gave one last year, but like they are 14.
We talked about that last night. It's an interesting, at 14-1, the odds are probably too good. Like, he's been
it's not just interesting. He's been statistically the best player in NBA history this year.
But the problem is humans are voting and not machines, and they may not even make the playoffs.
Yes, that's why Russell Westbrook won MVP one year.
No, I like it. I like the value at 14-1. But like right now, like Curry is in the catbird seat, I guess you can say. We're still not even at the quarter. Well, we're past the quarter pole, but like we're like 1/3 of the way done as far as the season. Yeah, Keith, you got anything as far as the Atlanta side?
Trae Young, Collins if Capella is out. I don't have a ton of interest in trying to find value here, so probably just the 2 main guys, and only Collins if Capella is out.
By the way, Grant, speaking to your thought process before, as far as raw points on this slate, Jokic on an 8-game slate, he's projected on our DK projections here, lineup HQ, fire him up, 62.85 fantasy points. That's number 1. The second guy, the next guy in line is Steph Curry, a full 10 points below him. Just, it's amazing how much Jokic is better than everybody else from a fantasy perspective. That's it though, right? We're moving on. That's
moving on.
Yep. Let's keep it going. Golden State and Boston, 216 is the total. Boston is a 4 3-point dog. I believe this is an ESPN game for what it's worth. And I believe it's the front half of a back-to-back for Golden State. Yeah, we talked about this last night. Steph Curry ain't playing tomorrow. There's your spoiler alert. Because they're in Toronto or something like that. Steph is just like overpriced. He just is for how he's been playing. Of course, he can drop 10, 11, 12, 13 threes. Of course, that can happen. Should mention Jordan Poole is out. I think that's noteworthy to some extent. The Boston side is without Al Horford, Grant Williams. They're getting Josh Richardson back. Langford's available too. Juancho Hernan-Gomez is not available. Jabari Parker not available. And we just heard about Schroeder not being available. I think it's a really interesting Time Lord game. We've seen Time Lord on occasion, not so much this year, but it's in his bag. Drop a 45, 50 fantasy point game, especially on a site like FanDuel where you get those stocks he can get going. Not a great matchup, obviously. But Keith, what are we doing as far as Golden State's? They play a lot of dudes, but the absence of Poole should mean something. But again, they're hard to sort of delegate with their minutes. Curry's overpriced. Lee's been bad, but in theory he'll have an opportunity. I think the most interesting player here probably is Gary Payton II, but like I don't think you need it at the same time. That's sort of my thought process.
Yeah, I think there's better cheap guys at around the 3K mark to chase than Peyton. You mentioned Steph being overpriced for how he's been playing here recently. But I do think it's worth noting, I mean, as far as ceilings go, he's got one of the best. He's somebody that can match Jokic's 70 or whatever. Curry does receive a pretty big usage bump with Poole off the court. I believe it's up 5%. He gets a usage rate around 36%. So I think that even at that price, there is some upside on Curry here tonight. I do have a little bit of interest.
Grant?
Curry, Lee, moderate amount of interest, but like I'd rather just go Jokic.
Yeah, I mean, Lee's another one. Again, he's like a still minimum essentially, but we're projecting maybe 20 fantasy points out of him, 22, 23, something like that. He's going to have an opportunity, but do you need that? Like, you can absolutely survive that in this slate. And what are the chances of him like breaking the slate?
You're probably losing if you get that on the slate.
Yeah, I mean, it's if you told me I can get 23, no more, no less for Lee, I don't think I play him. I think I just X him out. Is that where you'd be at as well, Keith?
Yep.
Grant's changing his name on the fly. Okay, so let's talk about Boston, because Boston is interesting.
Names.
There's some vulgar ones too, I'm sure. I'm hitting the refresh on our lineup HQ, and let's see if we've potentially adjusted for the Dennis Schroeder news. Let's see if we have it in time. Probably not just yet, unfortunately, but we can kind of do it in our brains, I suppose. All right, Keith, we have Tatum. We're projecting for 45 fantasy points, 15% ownership. Again, this ownership is just going to change too, because, it's nice and useful to some degree right now, but like, there's no way, I don't think there's any way Robert Williams is 0.3% owned. I don't believe that number at 4.8K on DK. I know he's center only, and there's a lot of center options, but I think he's interesting on FanDuel as well. Tatum, of course, can put 40 relay points in the bucket. Again, bad matchup, but whatever. He's going to get a heavy workload for sure. 35, 36, 37, possibly up to 40 minutes this game. Keith, what waits to bake for you from a Boston perspective in this game?
Don't mind that price on Tatum. I think he's definitely in play. Another guy who has capability to put up a big stealing score. With Schroeder out, I think Marcus Smart becomes a little bit interesting. I don't know if you need it on this slate. See what the projections end up spitting out here once we get a refresh on that. Agree with you. Robert Williams has a too low price on DraftKings. Definitely in play on him. That's pretty much the main guys I'm looking at.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just looking at it. It's important to remember, like, for Robert Williams, like the other Grant Williams is out, Al Horford. I think their bigs are out. And of course, this game could go small as well, because Golden State, like, they're happy to go small. But Williams can also play the 5 in that. There's Enes Freedom. Okay, that's a big that's lurking, but he can only play so many minutes, maybe 24 at most, 20, probably less than that. Williams can get handsy as well, but there's a chance we see Williams like 30 minutes or so and just absolutely smashes.
Do they really need a big in there?
Well, that's the thing. It's like, well, who would play the 5 if it's not Williams and if it's not Cantor? Freedom.
Do they need a big?
Well, I'm just trying to think who would be like, they would play like with Tatum as their biggest.
But do they need a big in there?
Well, he's bigger than Williams, but yeah, he's only going to play so many minutes. We're projecting him for 15, which is probably, well, this is before the Schroeder news. I know it's a different position, but he might get a few thrown his way. Yeah. But again, it's and also Juancho Hernan-Gomez, another big, is not playing. So they're just without some bigs, but you're right. This is a good opponent to have a lack of bigs.
Yeah. So I don't know if that really changes too much. I mean, I think Williams is still a fine play. I wouldn't reach down to get Freedom in my lineup, but Smart, definitely a guy that's probably going to get a little bit of a bump without Schroeder. Just the lack of guys they have, but you don't really need anyone. Like Tatum, yeah, I guess he's fine. Like Schroeder not being in there, even though they don't play a ton of minutes together sometimes. I think Tatum gets a bump in usage. Brown, I don't really want to use. So it's kind of a spot where, like, yeah, Williams is fine, Tatum's fine, but neither of them are a necessity.
You guys happen to see anything pop up on Twitter?
Tyler
Hero. There it is. Hero officially out. There it is. Kyle Lowry should do his thing. Like Vincent should be good, but he's no longer like still minimum, but he should play a bunch of minutes. I have a hard time.
Isaiah Thomas available to make Lakers fit season debut. What a world we live in.
He put up 42 points in the G League. I was watching his highlights today. Did you guys have to see that?
No.
He dropped 42.
So he's done that in the NBA, and he's given up probably 50 on the other side.
Yes, he's we talked about this last night. And it's like, yeah, the Lakers need spacing. They need guys that can shoot threes. They can use some defense. Let's call Isaiah Thomas. All right, let's move on. Milwaukee, New Orleans, 218.5 is the total. Milwaukee, 2-point favorite in New Orleans tonight. We already kind of ran down the Antetokounmpos are both out and Portis is out. We're projecting Sandro to draw the start alongside Holiday and Allen and Connaughton and Middleton and Cousins to be the key piece off the bench. Nwora is lurking as well too, I believe. Nwora could play 5, I guess, theoretically, but maybe Sandro and Cousins play the 48 minutes at center. Keith, I guess the question is, how many minutes of Cousins do you need to justify rostering Cousins? And he's going to be popular, I think, especially on DK, where you can roll out more than one center. He's a fabulous fantasy point minute player. What are we projecting for him for minutes? Probably around 18 or 20.
Yeah, 22 is what we have right now.
22 is pretty good. Like, I think I would take 22 minutes. That's about what, 30? Well, 28.
Do we think he's
points?
really going to be able to, like, first of all, not get winded, and second of all, like, defend J-Val?
No, nobody's going to defend J-Val. That's the thing. Nobody. Point me to the guy that's going to defend him anyway. Nobody. It's not happening. So
yeah, I mean, like, I don't know. I haven't looked into it a huge amount, but Sandro, like, might be the better.
He's got some girth, I guess, but no, he's not slowing down Joe Val.
I mean, he's probably going to slow him down more than Boogie.
Cousins is a rough defender. Just, he had the Achilles and he's on the wrong side of 30 and yada yada.
And he had the quad.
Yeah, was it an Achilles or a quad or was it both? He had a lot of things, a lot of body parts. The most minutes he's played this season, I'm looking at is 17. I mean, last year with Houston where he played 25 to 30 or so last year, but obviously the situation has changed. What are we doing here, Keith? Especially if Cousins is going to be fairly popular and there's an opportunity cost at center. Like, where do you think you're going to land as far as percentage wise of Cousins tonight?
Yeah, I mean, if we knew he was going to get 22 minutes, I'd feel really good about it and would feel comfortable. I mean, with him in probably half my lineups. We know he's a huge per minute producer. If you told me it's going to be closer to like 18 minutes, that's a harder sell. Still undecided, honestly. I'm going to trust the projections team on this. I know they constantly bounce thoughts and ideas off of each other all the way up until lock. Wherever we land on the minutes, I'm just going to kind of roll with that. If it sticks around this 22 mark, I'm comfortable being overweight on him at this projection.
I think it's like realistically 18 to 27. Does that sound about right as far as like
I think that's fair.
Floor and ceiling? Mm-hmm. 27 minutes of Cousins, he should smash, but like that's maybe a little bit too ambitious. Grant, what do you have as far as Cousins? And like we didn't even talk about Middleton and Holiday, but like we're just playing them. They're both really good plays. I don't know.
Yeah, hammer. Well, I'm gonna drop some bets in chat again because why not?
And once again, you are dropping those free bets into our Discord channel. That's why if you guys are watching on YouTube, hey, what's up, YouTube? Hit that like button, do subscribe, turn on the notifications. All that stuff is appreciated. Helps us out with the old algorithm. Jump to rotogrinders.com/Discord. Go to the live stream channel. All that stuff is free. It's a free channel. Have at it. Enjoy yourself. And Grant.
FYI, the second row is odds. So not how much I bet. It's the odds on it.
Oh, well, I'm not looking at it right now. I didn't see some of the pictures.
I was letting the chat know.
Okay. Well, you could just type that in there instead of derailing the whole show, Grant.
I wanted to let them know. Let the people know. Now there is.
It's important information.
I heard Grant say he likes Middleton and Holiday, and like I always talk about playing him over in props. He probably got him earlier today at a nice number, nicer than what's out there right now. Keith, where do you think you're going to land as far as Middleton and Holiday? We're seeing 31% projected ownership of Middleton, 28 on Holiday, and probably higher than that. Again, this stuff changes; it's fluid. Do you think you're going to be well over that? You're taking stands. Are you happy playing them both in the same lineup? I assume that's okay. Yes.
Yes, that is completely okay at these prices. Holiday is the guy I feel more comfortable with, despite Middleton being cheaper. Just recent form. Holiday's been really consistent. We just saw him go off in the last game. Middleton is the one that struggled a little bit here recently. However, the price is just, he's too cheap if Giannis was playing, probably. Without Giannis, he's a smash. It's going to be tough for either of these guys to fail. I definitely want to be overweight on Holiday. Have to see how the lineups shake out and make sure that I can still get overweight on Middleton if I do that. If I'm over on Holiday and Cousins, I may not end up getting overweight on Middleton, but he'd be the guy that I'd be willing to be at the field or maybe even slightly under.
What about the other side of this game? I think Josh Hart has got a pretty nice price.
You don't want my thoughts?
Well, you said you liked Holiday and Middleton.
Yeah, throw one of them in every single lineup.
Yeah.
At least one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is there any interest, any reason to consider? We talked about this already, kind of as far as the cheapies. Grant, would you consider rostering yourself some Sandro, or it's just like, again, that's another one of those like 24-point guys that are not that helpful necessarily tonight?
I mean, it's not worth it on a different slate, yes, but I mean, if he gets 24 minutes, how much is he really going to do in that 24 minutes? I don't know. Like, we know Boogie's a huge point per minute producer, so if he gets 25 minutes, then he could end up putting up 1.5 points per minute. He could be worth it near the minimum. But what's his name? Sandro is not a guy that I'm sure is going to put up big points in small minutes.
What's Sandro? What's his last name? There's a lot of Sandros in the player pool.
Mamulevicki.
Mamu Kidishvili. Yeah, I've been practicing that one all day for sure. Grant,
Yeah,
as
I made sure to
potential
stay
run
away
back,
from it. Thanks, team.
as potential run back options, I think it's only one of three. It's J-Val, Ingram, and Hart.
Yep.
I think there's the only ones that you can potentially run back. There's no way I'm playing like a Herbert Jones on this slate. Like, there's no chance. Good defensive player, but that's kind of useless in DFS. Do you have a preference there? I don't think any of them are going to be very heavily owned.
J-Val,
Interesting
then
little
Ingram,
game
then
stack.
Hart. Ingram has been playing pretty darn well recently. It's a razor thin spread. I think it might be at 2 now. It was at 1.5. It's just kind of bouncing back and forth out depending on what site you're on. But Ingram's been putting up 50 with pretty big regularity lately. Milwaukee still runs at a decent pace, and they're not nearly the same defensive team without Giannis in there. So Ingram and J-Val are both actually pretty decent plays and definitely decent run backs.
Keith, the New Orleans run backs, your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, exactly what Grant said. I completely agree with that. I kind of expected J-Val to get a little bit more ownership than Ingram. So I was perfectly happy pivoting to Ingram. If the ownership stays close, I mean, that matchup with Boogie is outstanding for J-Val. So
Harris is playing, Capella is playing.
Capella, all right.
Oh, okay. So like that kind of mucks up Collins if you're considering Collins. Gary Harris, as of now, is available, but I mean, there's no chance I play Gary Harris. I don't think.
I mean, let's
Again,
be honest. Every single player playing tonight could be ruled out in the next hour with COVID.
Yeah, I guess that's probably not really a bold thing. Oh, Hero now doubtful, by the way. He went from out to doubtful?
He was doubtful from the beginning.
Oh, okay.
You read out it was doubtful.
My bad. All right. A lot of stuff to keep track of here, Grant. Let's move on to the next game, which I think is like not that interesting as far as this 8-gamer goes, which maybe it should be, and people aren't going to be playing it because like nothing really goofy is set as far as we can tell right now. 226 is the total as far as San Antonio versus Utah. Utah is a 12-point favorite here, Grant. As far as the body parts in these games, I think everybody's good, right? I don't think aren't both these teams fully healthy unless I missed something.
I mean, no, Lonnie Walker is.
Yeah, he's questionable.
Yeah, but that's the biggest name, which means that Gobert is going to give everyone COVID again.
It was not his fault.
I mean,
we'll
yes, he was a dummy, but we were all dummies then.
Yeah. I'm not whatever. We don't have time to get into all that. But Grant, with this game, there's no in basketball. It's kind of a simple approach. Like when a bunch of dudes are out, everybody gets elevated because they're priced for a certain number of minutes, certain percentage of usage, and now it all gets elevated. Nobody's getting elevated in this game, but of course the ownership's going to reflect that as well. Is there anything that you think is like really playable in this game? Of course, Mitchell can put up a big score. Of course, Murray can put up a big score, but it's not as clear and obvious as everything else. And obviously the matchup against Utah is not pristine, but you like Mitchell as your favorite play in this game?
Mitchell followed by Gobert. No real interest in anyone else.
Yeah, Mitchell actually has a pretty usable play on DK, 8.3K. He's like just kind of works perfectly fine, far as I can tell. And our ownership projection is pretty huge on it right now. Again, this stuff is fluid and it could change, but that is a big number, 33% as far as Mitchell. Keith, what do you have as far as San Antonio, Utah? Is this game exciting for you?
It's not very exciting. Very tough matchup for San Antonio. Murray is a guy that I played a ton early in the year as his price was trying to catch up to the Spurs' new pace and Murray's production. And he had been putting up 50 points consistently. He has faltered on that a little bit here recently. He's fully priced, tough matchup. I don't have any interest in Murray. Derek White feels overpriced to me. I'm not chasing his big game. So I'm pretty much out on most of these Spurs. On the Utah side, it's Mitchell first, a slight interest in Gobert, and nothing else really. So I mean, Mitchell is really the only play I'm interested in from the entire game.
Let's hit the 3 games that are scheduled for 10 o'clock. Minnesota, the T-Wolves at home versus the Lakers. 222 is the total. Lakers are 1-point favorites, so it's high and it's tight. We do have Russ, who was originally ruled out, actually ruled back in. So the appeal of LeBron and Davis, some of that shine gets worn off. Of course, you can still play them, but less appealing. Obviously, we do have some. Also, Monk is Monk in or out? He's out now, right? Because I know he went back and forth a couple of times as well. I don't know how much this stuff matters because you basically just play. All the big 3 are in. When they're all in, I can't imagine playing anybody else in this team. Howard is out. Maybe we see Jordan start. I don't think I'm playing DeAndre Jordan in this slate. Like, there's no chance. Grant, do you like anything as far as the Lakers? Like, it's all just
nope.
Now it's
the only guy I really like in this game is Cat and a little bit of Pat Bev.
You don't like Russell with some revenge with the absence of Edwards?
I mean, he's fine. He's not great.
I like Russell today. All right.
Yeah, that's fine. I'm not saying he's a bad play. I'm just not really playing.
What are your thoughts here, Keith? Touch on the Lakers first. Are you in agreement with myself and Grant, where it's just, like, of course, like, you could always play LeBron. You're not angry if LeBron happens to, pop up at 5%, whatever happens to be. But you're not seeking anybody out in the Lakers, are you?
I'm not. With Westbrook in there, there's just too many mouths to feed. No real interest in the Lakers.
Minnesota?
Towns is my first lean as well. I'm more interested in Russell than Grant, but probably not as much as you. The Lakers defense has been better. Now, with Russ out, their defense actually improves. So I think that's actually a bump up to Russell that Westbrook is back in there. So I was kind of leaning to go away from Russell with Westbrook out of the lineup and their defense improved. But now that Westbrook is back in there, I will have myself some Russell, I believe.
Magic starting Gary Harris, Franz Wagner, Okiki, Carter Jr., and Rolo. They're dusting off Rolo. Okay. I mean, they only have, I think, 10 guys, right? Mulder, Harris, Wagner, Carter Jr., Lopez, Okiki, Gravett, Schofield, Johnson, and Ford. But, like, one more time, Keith, as far as our favorite Magic players, I think we said it was Wagner and Carter Jr. That's a 2 favorite. Is that correct?
Those are the 2, correct.
Grant, you're in agreement?
Mm-hmm.
All right, 2 games left on the docket. Let's talk about Memphis at Sacramento. Woo! All right, 220.5 is the total. Sacramento is a 7-point dog here. Yeah, as far as the Sacramento side, let me go ahead and pull up. Well, I'll throw it to Keith. What are your thoughts as far as Memphis first?
I have a lot of interest in this Memphis team. Sacramento has been bad on defense. No Ja Morant. So obviously you've got some guys. Now he's been out for a while. The prices have kind of caught up. I know Grant has been all over Desmond Bane and Jaren Jackson props for the last, it feels like a month, probably not that long, but close to that. I know he's on him again today. I agree with him. Like these Memphis guys with this matchup, I think they're all still very playable. Even though you're seeing prices you wouldn't typically want to pay on somebody like a Desmond Bane. Brooks is somebody I've been chasing for a while because he shoots so much, he gets so much usage, and he doesn't get there as often, but I'll probably go right back to him just because of the great matchup. Mentioned Bane, absolutely love Jackson. Probably won't go too far down the list outside of those 3, but a ton of interest in all 3 of those guys.
Grant, you got anything to add there? Anything you agree with? Anything you disagree with? Or that's basically
Gotham's Reckoning.
You can't say the name and reference Gotham without doing the voice. Give us the voice.
Suck it, dude.
All right.
I think I might bet Bane triple-double.
What are the odds? Like 15, 20 to 1 or something ambitious?
Oh, it's got to be way more than that.
He doesn't. He doesn't he's just mostly a 3-point shooter, right?
Yeah, I've heard. Yeah, just for him to
Good
get
score.
10 plus rebounds is plus 900.
You're 7 available to play, by the way, for Miami. Just if you, that's a slight hit to Dedmon, whatever. I don't know how much you were considering that, but I think it's noteworthy. He's going to be available. I'm stealing this from the Underdog NBA Twitter account, by the way, because this is well laid out for us as far as the Kings. This is as of 23 minutes ago. I don't think things have changed. Kings roster situation right now for Friday: 8 available players, 2 questionable players, 1 plans to sign. The available players currently right now for the Kings: Buddy Hield, awesome play. Harry Barnes, Tristan Thompson, who is popping. Ramsey, who is Ramsey? I don't know. Harkless, woof. Jones, Woodard II, and Queta? I don't know who Queta is. The questionable players are Metu and Halliburton. If Halliburton is available, he is a phenomenal play on DraftKings. He's like 5'8" over there. And they plan to sign a Justin Robinson, which sounds like a creative player. This is a 10 o'clock game. You got to plan accordingly. Like we said before, Mitchell was like the lock and load play of the slate, at least for me. He's off. He's not available. We know Fox isn't playing. Len isn't playing. Those are the available guys. We just kind of ran off for you. Tristan Thompson is popping in models, which is not a comfortable thing. The Kings are not a comfortable team to be playing anybody on. But again, there's only so many options there that Coach Doug Christie is the current interim coach right now for him because Gentry is out with COVID issues. Keith, how are you handling Sacramento? Buddy Hield seems like an incredible play, as far as I can tell. That's my favorite play in Sacramento, I believe. Tristan Thompson looks good too. He does take that center spot, which bothers me a little bit. Thoughts, Kings?
I'm struggling with the Kings. Halliburton is my favorite, I believe, if he plays, especially on DraftKings. You mentioned the price there is far too cheap. Hield's been playing better recently, but he went through a rough stretch, and even his last 2 haven't been great. So don't love the recent form there. He's a guy that needs to make his shots to really get there. Memphis's defense is another thing I want to touch on. I just talked about this kind of same situation with the Lakers where Westbrook in the lineup actually makes their defense worse. Ja Morant is the same way. Memphis has been really good on defense without Morant in the lineup.
Last 7 games, they've been the best team in all of basketball in defense. Better than Golden State, better than Cleveland, better than the Lakers. Lakers 4th. Last 7 games, like you said, the common denominator is
We
Ja
helped
being
played
out.
Orlando once and beat him 158-76.
Okay, but fair. Okay,
help.
fair enough. But the point is, the defense has been a lot better, and the Kings stink. But go ahead. I didn't mean to interrupt you, but I thought that was worth mentioning.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. Thank you for adding on there. Metu is interesting. I think he could run into quite a bit of usage here if he does play. So definitely want to monitor that situation. Love the price at 3.7 on DraftKings. Ton of interest there. But I am just a little bit worried about the overall efficiency of the offense against Memphis.
Are we worried this game could get canceled? Like,
I mean, if Orlando found a way to play, I don't know. I think we have to.
It ain't available, right?
It's got to be on our radar for sure. But I think they try to find a way. I mean, they're signing guys off the street and making them active. So
if they have 8 available, I think you need 8 available.
You have to have
dress.
8.
So, yeah, and as of right now, we have 8 available. Like again, somebody can get hit with something later on. Who knows? How are you planning on setting up in case Halliburton's not playing? Are you considering stuff like saving salary and leaving a spot for like a Norman Powell, or if you're going to move off like a Tristan Thompson, or move off somebody? I don't know, you have Nurkic and you have Nance. There's some other pieces in that Charlotte Portland game, and of course the Laker Minnesota game as well. Yeah, it's at 10 o'clock also, which is a weird time for Minnesota. Is that like on TNT or ESPN? That must be why. You probably changed the local time for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
You mentioned a great pivot. Norman Powell is a guy I love as a pivot off of Halliburton. I will make sure that I have at least 2 guys from this set of 3 games. I mean, it's going to happen naturally anyway, because these are 2 of the 3 games anyway that I really want to target. But just making sure that I have some swap equity built into my lineups is very important. And with 3 games available, there are going to be plenty of 2v2s available. As long as I have more than 1 roster spot open, it shouldn't be too much of an issue.
Just build all your lineups with only guys from the late games.
Well, no, because there's a lot of good stuff.
Yeah,
Then
probably
means you
needs
don't
to
have
know
to-
Milwaukee
Drew
Milwaukee.
or Middleton in every lineup, then only guys from the late games.
I mean,
Maybe
there's so many
Jokic
good
if you
players.
want.
I hear you. By the way, one last time, do want to mention if you guys are watching this on YouTube, hit that like button, subscribe, turn on notifications. Does help us out a ton. If you want to chat with us, go to rotogrinders.com/Discord. Go to the live stream chat channel. Devin is compiling those chat questions, whatever questions you may have for us regarding the slate. We're going to do our best to knock out those last 10 minutes of the show. Of course, if you guys are premium members, you can ask Andy Means on Crunch Time. He's got the thankless job of taking you guys straight up to lock and reacting to all the goofy stuff that breaks right up to lock, as well as Kevin Roth. So fire up those questions there. We'll be talking about those later on. And again, to entice you to Wet the Beak, to get you all to join this channel, doesn't cost you anything. It's a free channel in the Discord. Grant's been dropping out some winners, dropping some of those scores and odds picks and those player props. He's dropping a bunch of the players. It's what he's betting.
Yeah,
right.
I'm literally just copy and pasting over my spreadsheet of what I have bet.
Yeah, so if these are losers, and Grant's sleeping on the couch tonight as well. So that's just how it goes. But I presume they're pretty solid.
I have to send that back to Home Furniture Warehouse.
I know a guy. If you need, I got a couch guy. If you need a couch,
I don't want to touch any of the couches you would suggest.
Understood. Grant, the Kings, and also by the way, if we lose Halliburton, I'm not excited to play Mo Harkless. I'm just trying to think this Hield should be an awesome play.
What happens if Hield doesn't hit though? That means that Barnes is probably doing something. That means Thompson's probably doing something. That means Mitou's probably doing something. Harkless may actually end up doing something, but that's a likely no. Or that game just turns into complete blowout. So
they might just score 80 points tonight. That's possible too.
It's definitely within the realm of possibility. But even at 80 points, someone's going to end up hitting.
Grant, do you have anything to add as far as this game, or shall we move on to the other hammer that is Charlotte and Portland?
Yeah, don't play Charlotte, play Lillard and Powell. All right, did it for you. Let's get to questions.
230 is the total in that game, which is weird. And Keith has kind of alluded to that. Well, 230 game, it's high and it's tight. Portland's a 3-point favorite. You have to think that the idea of LaMelo being back and everybody else is still kind of priced for the circumstance of LaMelo not being there. So now they're all overpriced. And especially considering the slate, it's I don't want anything in the Charlotte side. There's no reason, that now they're much healthier than they have been. Slew of dudes to roster. So it's weird. And the matchup's good, but the Charlotte side, not terribly enticing. Of course, Charlotte's been a cheat code all season long, and Lillard's been rough, but certainly you can unleash some Lillard. We talked about Nurkic. Nurkic is getting more minutes these days. If you get 30 minutes versus Charlotte of Nurkic, that could be awesome. Talk to me about this game, especially Portland. What do you have for Keith?
Yeah, it's the Portland side that I have all the interest in. Lillard and Powell, the two top plays for sure. I'm going to have some Nurkic as well. You mentioned he's a guy that generally produces, but sometimes they'll only run him out there for 22 minutes and he just doesn't get there. Been over 30 minutes the last two. Like you said, if he gets 30 minutes here, he's probably going to smash at that price. So I want to have a little bit of him. I'll even take some shots on Nasir Little. I think just should be out there quite a bit. Hasn't shown a huge ceiling. He did have 29 the other day against Golden State, but at 4-1, I think you can take some shots on DraftKings.
Simons, is he interesting or not necessarily in this slate?
Yeah, I don't love the price on him, but theoretically there's a ceiling there. You mentioned the matchup. It's as good as it gets. Charlotte plays fast. They don't play any defense. If he's going to pay off that price tag, this is a matchup he could do it in.
Let's see what we have. A couple new stuff sprinkling in. Austin Reeves has entered the health and safety protocols. He was a little bit interesting earlier today, but now, the Lakers with them having the big three. Moses Moody is going to draw the start for Jordan Poole. That's interesting. I thought it might be Gary Payton. Are we playing Moses Moody? I don't think so, right? We haven't. There's enough guys in Golden State where he's not somebody that. Yeah, is that a no?
No for me.
All right. Questions we have pulled from the Discord. I'm just going to go back and forth on you guys. All right. So Grant, you're up first. K-Mac is asking FanDuel specific, Grant. GPP, are Buddy Hyde and Barnes locks for tonight?
Not locks, but Buddy Hyde's a very good play. Barnes is more of a tournament play.
Keith, same site, FanDuel tournaments. Who is the better value, Cousins or Tristan Thompson? And again, this is the thing on FanDuel. I'm pretty sure Thompson's only center eligible, right? I know Cousins is. We can pull that up in a
Thompson
second.
does have power forward also on FanDuel.
Okay. Yeah. And how does that matter? Because he wants to know Cousins or Thompson, who's the better value for tournaments. And again, the tricky thing for me with Cousins is if he puts up like 26 points at center, which he certainly can, and that's not terrible, and that's quote unquote hitting value, is that enough to like, justify the roster spot is kind of my question. And also answer Cousins or Thompson.
Yeah, I prefer Cousins in just the straight up 1v1, but you do have to factor in center only eligibility because there's a guy named Jokic on the slate. If he puts up 70, even if Cousins puts up, 35 or whatever his ceiling is, you may still need Jokic. So definitely have to factor in the positional stuff too.
Grant, DK tournaments, is Jokic the top spend? Like we can't go any higher than that, right?
Yep.
Was anybody more expensive than him?
No, I don't think.
Yeah.
They're not asking if he's the most expensive, but is he the best guy to spend up for?
Yeah. Okay. I mean, he is, but everybody else knows that too. But he is.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, yeah. All right, Keith. Carolina guys asking FanDuel tournaments, which position would you spend up on, and who would it be? So your favorite spend up position specifically as far as lineup construction. I'll give you a second to think about that, and I'll ask Grant a question. Grant, DK tournaments, thoughts on Jonas Valanciunas? We talked about how there's nobody in that Milwaukee side that's going to stop him.
I like anyone versus Boogie, but yeah, he's pretty solid.
Hey, do we like Boogie starting or not starting? Because you can make an argument not starting is better. He might lose a minute or two, possibly, but the usage thing, like less minutes.
They're still probably going to scatter Holidays and Middleton's usage, but also those guys both might play 38 minutes tonight.
But the other thought is you'll get more Hernan Gomez as opposed to Valanciunas defending you. Did you have a thought on that question I asked you before, Keith, as far as FanDuel specifically, your which position would you spend up on and who would it be?
Yeah, Jokic is the guy I want to spend up on the most tonight. I also have some interest in Karl Anthony Towns. So center would be the first position that I throw out there. Valanciunas, we also mentioned there's some good spend ups at center. Also point guard. I've got interest in Curry tonight with no Jordan Poole, and I'll have a little Trae Young as well.
They're asking Grant specifically, do you like the over on 1.5 3-pointers for Morris? I assume that's Morris on Denver. I'm guessing that's what they're asking about. I don't know if you have a projection.
I haven't looked
on
at
that.
it, so this would clearly be guessing. If you're doing it on Prize Picks, where you essentially get even money, then it's fine. If you're doing it not on Prize Picks, it's not horrible at -128 over on MGM, but that's you're not really getting a positive ROI on that. It's just kind of like net zero.
Well, I wish they would have given the number here. It says thoughts on the under on 80 points. I don't know what the under is on 80 points. Do you happen to have it, Grant? Because
Davis,
that would help. Yeah, I assume
Davis is sitting
Davis
at 24.5. I do like the under on it. You can
You
find
like the
the best
under,
line at
24.
Caesars, MGM, and DK.
DK tournaments. This is for you, Keith. DK tournaments, favorite value and favorite spend up. So your favorite cheapie and your favorite big spend.
Favorite big spend is still Jokic on DK as well. Favorite value play, like I said, keeping an eye on the Cousins minutes. He's the answer as long as he stays projected above 20 minutes. And I have a lot of interest in Metu as well if he plays.
Point per dollar. I just did a quick, I used our lineup HQ and did a quick, point per dollar search. Cousins number one, then Rolo at 25 projected fantasy points. Buddy Hield again, and he's not even a cheapie. PJ Tucker, Tristan Thompson, Dwayne Dedman, Metu, Halliburton, Duncan Robinson, Okiki. There's some names in there. All right. A few more questions before we step aside and make way for crunch time. So Grant, your thoughts as far as Jaylen Brown? I think his minutes are fully there, basically. He could have played 32 minutes last game. And we know there's no Schroeder. We know there's no Horford. We know there's no Grant Williams. There's no Hernan Gomez. ESPN game. Jaylen Brown is a guy that I don't think people are playing at all. DK as well, because his price is better on FanDuel. Any interest in Jaylen Brown for you?
Not really. It's big enough slate where he could go off, but there's going to be lots of guys to go off.
Keith, how much have you looked at Slate IQ today? Because this is for tournaments, and they're asking, why is Slate IQ showing 3-2 and 3-1 as the best stack options? Are we wanting 4 to 5 players from the same game on an 8-game slate? Now, Slate IQ uses previous slates to help like solve what to do
Because
tonight?
it's because we have Memphis and Sacramento. We have Charlotte and Portland, which shows similar slates of a 230-point game. And we have the Orlando game with everyone out. So there's multiple different, and we have Milwaukee, similar spot where a lot of guys are out. So it's because a lot of guys are out. So game stacking based on how much value there is, because there's a whole lot less salary in the starting lineup and the minutes that are there, where points still have to be scored based on how many points the implied total is. So I think it's running based off of that. So it makes sense.
I was gonna make the point that I'm gonna cut you off. We got to go. I was just gonna make the point that it's based on previous slates, and I don't know if we've ever had a slate like this. Certainly not at this point in the year. So like again, I'm not here to besmirch slate IQ, but it's got a tough job today. I'm gonna Keith, just fire these off for me. 1 through 10, your interest level in Hassan Whiteside tournaments, obviously.
2.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at as well. Thoughts on Hayward? I assume it's Gordon Hayward, and like we already kind of is he? Yeah, we don't like Hayward so much today either. Thoughts as far as Nurkic, though? I think Nurkic is an interesting one. We'll end there, Grant. Give me 1 through 10, a number on Nurkic.
I'll actually go with 7. It's a good matchup.
Keith,
I'll go 8.
give me your favorite play of the slate, Keith.
Tyrese Halliburton.
All things considered.
Tyrese Halliburton if he plays.
Yeah, I love that too. And I wonder if people are going to be prepared for that, because if he does, he can be awesome. If not, well, be prepared to swap stuff out. Grant, same question. We got to go.
I didn't remember the questions. Let's go. Halliburton.
You know what, Grant? We're supposed to finish strong, and look what I thought. We had a good, clean show. We blew it. We had a perfect game. 5 out of 9.
I was looking for the Anthony Davis under on points, and it's not on any site right now. They took it down because of Westbrook.
Thanks for hanging with us, everybody. Thanks for joining that Discord. Grant, I'm sure next time he's on, he's going to be pumping in some more winners. Yes, hit that like button on your way out. If you guys are premium members, hit up rotogrinders.com and go watch yourself some Andy Means talking about the slate as well. Do want to thank you guys for asking questions. Thanks for making the show interactive. Thanks to Devin for producing. Thanks for Keith for stepping at the last second. Grant was here also. That was basketball. I was Dean. We're out of here. Holler.
Second.